Chapter 81, Transforming Body, Law Transformation 1. Your comprehension defies the heaven. By interacting with the law of heavenly tribulation, you've gained more insight into the law of heavenly tribulation. Your comprehension defies the heaven. By interacting with the law of heavenly tribulation, you've gained more insight into the law of heavenly tribulation. Your comprehension defies the heaven. By interacting with the law of heavenly tribulation, you've gained more insight into the law of heavenly tribulation. The mysterious prompts from his cheat displayed in his head countless times, however, Gray wasn't paying attention to them at all. Instead, he was fully concentrated on the heavenly law of tribulation. The law crystal had taken the shape of thunderous storms, destroying specks of light with each strike. What did heavenly tribulation imply? What impact did it have on the world? Heavenly tribulation was a way for the heavens to challenge and punish those who defied fate. Everyone had a fate, and if things didn't play out the way intended, then the grand heavens would awaken and test the one who defied its order. These usually happened when one underwent a transition to a higher life form. Like a second rank evolving into a third rank's lifespan would increase tremendously, allowing them to easily live for 1,000 years on average. Increasing one's lifespan wasn't that changing your fate and completely rewriting it. The heavenly tribulation was used to test them. If they failed, they weren't worthy to defy fate. If they won, they were worthy and allowed to receive a new fate. That was heavenly tribulation's role. It kept things in order, punished those who broke the worst taboo in its book, and tested those who wished to defy fate. As long as the heavens existed, nothing could escape its grasp. It was the ultimate instrument of order, the supreme judge of destruction that tested all who dared to ascend. BZZT. BZZT. Outside, Gray's body began flashing with currents of electricity. The bed instantly crumbled the moment the electricity touched it. Gray's eyes shot open with lightning currents flashing inside them. Your comprehension defies the heaven. By observing the law of heavenly tribulation, you've successfully comprehended heavenly tribulation to minor succession. Your comprehension defies the heaven. By comprehending a law, you've gained the skill, law suppression. Following that, Gray's body shot straight through the roof of the mansion. Mimi, who was close by, saw this and had a stunned expression on its face as it stared at the crack in the roof. Through the crack, it saw Gray stepping directly on air as dense, colorless lightning erupted from him. "It's time for the law and my body to become one," Gray spoke slowly as lightning crackled around him. This was no ordinary lightning. This was the legendary heavenly tribulation. The only thing that could stop it was Nexus energy. There was no other force that could handle its power. Gray took a deep breath and focused. Everything around him blanked out and he appeared in a pitch-black space. In that space was a ball of current. This ball of electricity was colorless, yet it possessed great destructive capabilities. Just seeing it would make one immediately kneel under its order. Gray slowly walked up to it and reached out to grab it. However, it reacted violently and pushed Gray back several steps. "I cannot grab it normally." As he said that, Gray immediately formed an idea in his mind. Purple-black energy surged around him, and a terrifying will erupted from him, painting the entire space in a purple-black hue. A beam of purple light shot straight toward the heavenly tribulation. Immediately, as if reacting to the Nexus energy, the heavenly tribulation began vibrating violently. Lightning crackled wildly in the space as it spread everywhere, trying to consume Gray entirely. However, Gray remained calm. He took a step forward with a composed expression, then another, and another. Before he knew it, he was right beside the source, the origin of heavenly tribulation. With Nexus energy covering his hand, Gray took hold of the law. Boom! A terrifying shockwave spread out from where Gray stood, the ground shaking slightly from the sheer intensity. Following that, the colorless lightning began changing. It twisted and warped before turning into a purple-black shade. Immediately, lightning erupted from all parts of Gray's body. He was completely submerged in it, forming a glowing ball of crackling purple-black light. Above the sky, the clouds began reacting violently to the lightning around Gray. Thunder crackled and rain began pouring down as lightning struck the area near him. Everyone nearby had already taken notice. "Miss Valeria, it's coming from Master Gray's mansion," Valeria's bodyguard reported respectfully, standing behind her along with another bodyguard. "That ball of lightning, is that little brother Gray?" Valeria exclaimed in shock as she sensed the aura. There was no need to doubt anything. It was the power of law. The entire weather was shifting under the manifestation of the law. "He's undergoing law transformation," the other bodyguard spoke. At middle stage of first rank." "I can see that," Valeria replied, disbelief in her eyes. Law transformation. It was known to everyone within Azrael Corporation that Gray was only a first ranker who wasn't even at late stage. But nobody disrespected him due to Valeria and kept their respect around him. But people still talked. But with this, nobody will talk behind his back again. Go protect him. Don't let the others find out, Valeria ordered as she looked toward Gray with clear worry. Yes, both bodyguards responded and vanished. The moment they reappeared, they were right beside Gray. They each took out a formation from their spatial rings, and immediately, the area around Gray distorted and vanished from everyone's sight. Inside Gray's body, pure heavenly tribulation coursed through him. Everywhere it passed, transformation followed. It slowly infused itself into Gray's every cell, granting him a special attribute, before rushing into both his mind and energy, infusing everything with the special properties of the law. Krak. Boom. A deep rolling rumble echoed in the sky. Even with the illusion array in place, everyone heard it. Success. Gray's eyes shot open as he hovered in the air. The transformation is complete. As he said that, purple-black lightning coursed across his body. He took a step forward and punched lightly. BZZ, ZZT. The instant he punched, lightning erupted and shot forward, taking the form of a dragon. Now, he had transformed. Every move he made carried the effects of his law. Additionally, with law transformation came the ability to fly. Middle-stage second rankers could fly without spending a single bit of energy. With their law-transformed bodies, they could bend the rules and soar freely. Early-stage second rankers could fly too, but they needed to consume their own energy to do so. Chapter 82, Transforming Body, Law Transformation 2. For a moment, Gray was in a daze as he stared at the ground down below. The mansions, the small street lamps on the road that connected to the inner district, and the soft drip of the rain from the clouds above. Everything was within his sight. Everything. He took it all in as his feet hung in the air. 3 months ago, he was a nobody who managed to have the opportunity to transmigrate into this world as a talentless fellow who only existed to make others' lives miserable. In the end, his own life became miserable. Having no talent to become an evolver, he took his own life, but with Gray crossing over, everything changed. Step by step, he forged and found his own energy, created his own evolutionary path, and now comprehended the strongest law that brought order to everything and achieved flight. One of Gray's many dreams was to become strong enough to step on air with sheer power alone. No energy spent, no nothing. His existence alone was now enough to defy gravity and fly around in the air. The old Gray would never believe it if someone told him this. However, this is just the beginning, Gray thought in his mind. This world was bigger than his old world, twice the size of his original planet, and there were plenty of bigger fishes in the sea. Things would only get more challenging from here, and Gray didn't plan on stopping anytime soon. Gray then turned to the 2 bodyguards standing not so far from him. He had noticed them as he was undergoing transformation. "You both are Miss Valeria's bodyguards, right?" Gray casually asked as he waved his hand. Immediately, the formation around him tore apart and lost its effect. For a formation master like him, breaking a formation like the illusion formation that the bodyguards placed was a small feat. He didn't even need to bother looking at it to break it. Yes, Both bodyguards exclaimed at the same time. "Congratulations on undergoing Lord transformation this early, Lord Grey." The way they addressed Grey had changed, from Master Grey to Lord Grey. They couldn't find a better way to address him at all. A monster like Grey deserved the respect they gave him. If they weren't wrong, nobody in the first rank should even be able to match Grey. Perhaps even a half-step second rank wouldn't be able to stand against him anymore. That was the difference a Lord transformation made. A middle stage first ranker undergoing Lord transformation, this was unheard of. Grey nodded slightly at them and glanced far off toward Valeria's mansion. With his current senses, he could easily see several meters ahead. He saw Valeria looking back at him from the distance. Grey took a step forward, lightning surged from behind him, and immediately, Grey landed next to Valeria, who was several meters away from him, leaving dense purple streaks of lightning in his wake. "Little brother Grey, you're fine," Valeria said with a sigh as she saw Grey was completely unharmed. "You made Big Sis worried." She came closer to Grey and spoke. "What if the others found out that you underwent a Lord transformation? Every other corporation is always on the lookout for everything related to Azrael Corporation." "It should be fine," Grey smiled. "Even before you were about to arrive, I was going to put down illusion formations as soon as I formed a bond with my law. But still, I thank you for helping me out." Valeria was always like this. She would help him without thinking twice, and she never asked for anything in return. To her, he was her benefactor, someone who helped her get rid of something that had been affecting her since childhood. To reach Lord transformation at your level. Valeria was tongue-tied just thinking about it. Forget Floating City, not even the Federation Master was capable of achieving Lord transformation when he was at middle stage first rank, and those who were capable of doing that at late stage of first rank could be counted on one hand. "It's unimaginable. Just what are you, little brother Grey?" Valeria asked in a curious tone. "You cured my condition, which not even the best doctor in the world could help with, and now this. I'll have no choice but to believe that you are a demon reincarnated." There was no other way to define this. To this, Grey merely spread his hands. "I'm just extremely talented, that's all. What can I say?" Hearing this, Valeria shook her head and laughed brightly. "Forget it, you won't tell me anything even if I ask. Since that's the case, why don't you come in? It's already late, and since you came in, you should stay till next morning and chat with Big Sis all day." She had a cheerful smile as she said that. She was now wearing a red nightgown which stuck closely to her curvy body. She looked extremely alluring right now wearing the bright red gown. Any man seeing her wouldn't be able to resist her. "My cat is still alone at my home. I need to go," Grey said with a blank stare. "And I need to stabilize my transformation." He knew she was teasing him, and he didn't have time to play with her. There were still other important matters to attend to. "Well then, I'll be taking my leave, sire." Later, as he said that, his body rose into the air while Valeria just stared at him with a pout. Saying his goodbye, he shot off toward his mansion. The way he flew around the sky was like he was already experienced in flying before, almost as if he did it every day. Usually, evolvers who could fly took weeks or even months to properly achieve flight and maneuver properly, but who was Grey? He was someone with a comprehension that defied heaven. It didn't even take him a second to learn to fly. Now, if he participated in a flying competition, he would emerge first without a doubt. With that said, he flew straight toward his mansion through the hole he made in the roof. As soon as he entered, Mimi greeted him. It appeared stronger than before, and flashes of silver lightning spread across its body slightly. "You can also use heavenly tribulation now," Grey smiled. Leaving the matter of the roof aside, Grey went into the living hall and sat cross-legged. He hadn't fully finished his transformation and still needed to stabilize it. He believed it should be done by morning. Chapter 83, Transforming Body, Lord Transformation 3. The next day, the warm sunlight of Blue Star gently hit Grey as he sat cross-legged in the living room. He slowly opened his eyes, which flickered with purple-black lightning currents. Success. Gray smiled as he stood up. He had fully stabilized his law transformation. Now, he could seamlessly utilize it just like he used his sword. Speaking of swords, Gray had also been looking for other weapon techniques, and he had already found several high-level ones. They came directly from young Master Zereth, the abyssal being he had eliminated a few months back. His spatial ring was a treasure trove, Gray said with a sigh. He honestly hadn't expected much from the guy, but there was more inside than he imagined. Among the items were the abyssal wall and abyssal convergence techniques, actual abyssal arts written in the abyssal language. He had swiftly comprehended them and turned them into his own techniques. And that wasn't all. The guy even had several weapon techniques, including spear, saber, and hand-to-hand combat techniques. Gray wanted more weapon techniques. He planned to compile all of these into one perfect technique he could use. He believed that once he mastered it, no one would be able to match him in combat. He would become invincible. Of course, that was something for the future, after he finished compiling them. Gray then checked his notifications. Valeria had sent him a good morning message and mentioned what happened yesterday. He quickly replied before standing up. He had a lot of things to do today, things he had been putting off because of the High Order. Before, he had acted cautiously, not even revealing his identity as a 2-star formation master to the public. After all, he was still considered a criminal in Nova City, with a bounty and a search warrant on his head. Valeria knew about it and had done her best to help him fend off people who came after him. But now, he no longer needed to be afraid. With the law transformation, his strength had increased substantially. He could even use his Death Ascension art again. There was no more need for caution. On a side note, there had been major changes in his evolutionary path as well. He now felt several new connections emerging from the Creator invocation, as the creator of the Nexus evolutionary path. A lot of people had already stepped into the path and became first-rank evolvers. "I'll be paying Nova City a visit soon," Gray said with a cold smile as he called Mimi over and left the mansion. He had now fully manifested his law and transformed using it. With the law came special abilities. He hadn't fully explored his new, profound law abilities yet, but he understood what they did. Unfortunately, there were no live targets on which to use his newly formed abilities related to heavenly tribulation. Hence there was only thing to do, go out and attend to other matters. His next destination was the Formation Association. Inside the main office of the Formation Association sat Old Man Werner Brown. He had a puzzled look on his face as he stared at a complex diagram in his hand. But how does this node connect to the other one without losing energy? He muttered in confusion. Was Master playing a prank on me? How can such a complex formation even work? He poured himself a glass of wine and took a sip. Then he checked the time, and his expression darkened. Master will be here any moment now. What will he say when he finds out I still haven't made any progress? Just as he said that, the door to his office opened, and someone walked in. The newcomer was a handsome young man with long black hair tied in a ponytail. He wore casual clothes, a simple white t-shirt, a black cardigan, and short black shoes. "Yo," Gray greeted casually as he entered the room. If anyone had seen Gray walking in so casually, they would have been shocked. After all, whose room was this? It belonged to an exalted 2-star formation master, the overseer of this entire branch. Normally, one would have to wait months just to meet him, but Gray had walked in like he owned the place. "Master," Old Man Werner quickly stood up with a respectful look on his face. "You're here." At the same time, Mimi, who had entered with Gray, looked at Werner and waved its cute paws at him as if greeting him. "Mimi, greetings, Master's pet," Werner said with a smile. "I told you, old man, don't call me Master," Gray said, looking slightly annoyed. "I'm literally 17 years old. But you are my master. In a master-disciple relationship, shouldn't I call you that?" It would be disrespectful not to, Werner replied sincerely. Gray didn't respond. He just sat down in the main chair where Werner had been sitting. Werner Brown was an immortal cultivator. Gray had met him during his 2-star formation master examination. After witnessing Gray's skills, Werner had been utterly convinced and begged to become his disciple. At first, Gray had refused, but the old man was too persistent. He somehow even found Gray's mansion and started visiting frequently. In the end, Gray accepted, not because he was tired of the man's persistence, but because he was moved by Werner's words. He still remembered them vividly. "Master Gray, please teach me your ways. This humble old man has been pursuing formations since I was young. It has always been my dream to build a perfect formation, one that can completely block out the corruption fields and keep them from entering the city. When I was a child, my home city, a small third-rate city, was swallowed by a massive corruption field. Everyone died, including my parents. Only a handful of us survived. Since that day, I swore to myself that I would find a way to eliminate the corruption fields so that no other city would suffer the same fate. Over the years, many formation masters have tried and failed. They could only suppress the corruption slightly, never remove it completely. But you are different, Master Gray. You're only 17, yet your understanding of formations far surpasses mine. Your golden ratio cosmic energy conversion diagram opened my eyes. If I study under you and receive your guidance, maybe one day I can fulfill my dream, to create a formation that can forever prevent the corruption fields from spreading inside cities." And that was how they had officially become master and disciple. The old man's words had given Gray a great deal of inspiration. A formation that could completely block corruption fields, even once created by the High Order, that was what he was now working toward. And from that very inspiration, he had already forged a formation. Chapter 84, Creating Aerial Vehicle, Cosmic Energy Processor 1. With his comprehension, all it took was a thorough study of the formations within the Formation Association for him to come up with one. Corruption Sealing Array, that was what he decided to call it. It was a complex array inspired by many notes and formations Gray had encountered. He compiled them together and forged this array. However, this formation couldn't be used or inscribed by just anyone. Only a few could utilize it, and those few were the ones who followed his own evolutionary path. The Nexus evolutionary path, or as it was known in Blue Star, the Ether evolutionary path. It played a key role in even inscribing the array. Ether energy was the natural bane of abyssal energy, and it would be even more effective against corruption energy, which was an impure fusion of different energies. The main reason people couldn't find a way to suppress or seal the corruption field was because they couldn't create a formation capable of sensing its unique energy pattern. Formations were all about patterns and inscriptions, and energies had their own patterns too. Using that as the foundation, Gray created a sealing formation. He inscribed the patterns of both corruption energy and abyssal energy within the array, subtly and precisely. No one would be able to find it since no one else had his level of origin insight. In this way, the formation would automatically activate when supplied with enough energy and directly seal the corruption field with ether energy. Only he and his Pathstriders could use it. Even if it fell into the wrong hands, they would still need someone who followed the ether evolutionary path. As the creator, Gray had discovered that he shared a connection with all his evolvers. Currently, around 500 first-rank evolvers followed his path, spread across Blue Star. With a single thought, he could sever the connection through the creator invocation, rendering them unable to use his evolutionary path. He, as the creator, had complete control over his Pathstriders. Gray snapped out of his thoughts and began speaking. "Did you comprehend the formation I told you to study?" The formation he referred to was none other than the corruption sealing array he had created. He had given it to the old man as a test to see if he could grasp anything from it. "No," the old man said after gulping slightly, a confused look on his face. This formation is unlike anything I've ever seen before, Master. There isn't a single reference in the Formation Association's books that I can compare it to. After studying it for days, the only thing I've managed to figure out is that it's a ceiling array. But I also feel like it's incomplete. The nodes in the array are all over the place, and I think it'll lose energy once the flow exceeds 3 nodes. Hearing that, Gray's eyes brightened. Not bad. You actually managed to figure out that it's a ceiling array. This old man was smarter than he gave him credit for. He could be taught. All right, I'll demonstrate the array for you. Watch carefully. Gray stood up from the chair. Nexus energy surged out from his energy field, which was now completely under his control. There was no trace of Liu Fang's true energy or the heavenly tribulation left within him. The Nexus energy began forming intricate patterns in the air. Nodes appeared one after another, and a complex diagram took shape. Observe. He waved his hand, and a dense blue ore with specks of light appeared in his palm. It was a cosmic ore, or as people called it, a cosmic stone, a rare material that served as the foundation for many things created on Blue Star. He placed the ore at the center of the array using his energy, then inscribed an energy conversion diagram that turned cosmic energy into ether energy. Immediately, dense blue energy surged through the array, flowing perfectly across each node without any energy loss, contrary to what Werner had assumed. It actually works, Werner exclaimed, his eyes wide as he tried to take in every detail before Gray dispersed the formation. The reason you thought it was losing energy was because of the array's complexity, Gray explained, pointing toward the intricate web of patterns within the formation. This was the tricky part. He believed even a 3-star formation master would struggle with it. That was because the structure of the array was intentionally built in the shape of the energy patterns of corruption and abyssal energy. He had to make it that way, otherwise people might eventually uncover those energy patterns and, in turn, discover Nexus energy. He didn't mind people knowing about Nexus energy itself, but if anyone managed to expose it publicly, the entire planet would be wiped off the starry sky. Forget becoming an invincible evolver, he wouldn't even survive long enough to reach the 2nd rank before dying under the onslaught of heaven. Hence, he had no choice but to make the array so complex. Werner would have to comprehend it on his own. All Gray could do was provide guidance. Wait, Master, is that ether energy? Werner asked, his voice trembling slightly. Indeed, Gray nodded. That's ether energy. This particular formation requires ether energy to function, which is why you couldn't cross-reference it with other formations. You created a formation out of ether energy, the same energy said to be effective against corruption energy. Werner's eyes widened in disbelief. But it hasn't even been 3 months since the ether path appeared. How did you already learn to create a formation using it, Master? He had severely underestimated Gray. His master wasn't ordinary at all. This level of comprehension in formations was unbelievable. Werner almost thought he was dreaming. But then, a thought suddenly struck him. Master, this array, it's a ceiling array, right? Werner asked carefully, his throat dry. Something unthinkable crossed his mind. Something no one since ancient times had ever achieved. Is this a ceiling array capable of surpassing corruption fields? He asked, gulping hard. That's for you to find out, Gray replied with a faint smile. He sat back in the chair and dispersed the array, then picked up a glass from the side table and poured himself some wine. After taking a sip, he smiled at the old man. Once you comprehend it, you'll naturally find out what it's about. But before that, Gray said as he set the glass down, you need to switch to the ether evolutionary path. Chapter 85, Creating Aerial Vehicle, Cosmic Energy Processor 2. Changing Evolutionary Path, the old man asked. Correct, Gray said with a smile. You should switch to the ether evolutionary path. Since this old man was his disciple, Gray decided to teach him a thing or two and guide him to follow his path. Master, I've actually been trying to switch to the ether evolutionary path, Werner said with a thoughtful look on his face. I believe that changing to it could help me get closer to creating the array that can surpass the corruption fields. But as a middle-stage second-rank evolver who is just one step away from the late stage, I cannot switch now. Doing so would regress my strength back to the early stage since there's currently no known method to achieve middle-stage advancement in the ether evolutionary path. Most importantly, I would also need an evolutionary conversion stone. Those are natural treasures born directly from the power of heaven. They usually form around the areas where high-ranking evolvers undergo their heavenly tribulations, as the dense evolutionary power they release condenses into these stones. One can then use them to change their evolutionary path. Yes, this old man who called Gray his master was a being as strong as the City Lord himself. He was an exalted formation master of the Formation Association, which was backed by a fourth-rank evolver. He had been assigned here by the association itself, and even the City Lord had to pay him respect. You don't have to worry about that, Grace said thoughtfully. The middle stage and late stage parts will come soon. After all, he had already completed his Lord transformation. All he had to do now was refine his understanding and apply it to his evolutionary path. Of course, he didn't intend to use the law of heavenly tribulation as the law required to ascend to the middle stage. The original purpose of creating his evolutionary path was to prepare for the ultimate leap, which was said to be the most crucial moment in an evolver's life. It was a path meant for everyone, talented or not, to cultivate and advance together. How could he limit it to just one law, especially one as difficult to comprehend as that? No, he would not do that. Instead, he wanted to make it so that each person could choose which law they wished to comprehend. His evolutionary path had no direct connection to any specific law. Martial artists, for example, were said to be connected to the laws of harmony and yin-yang, which meant they had to comprehend those two to advance. Then there were immortal cultivators, who followed the laws of heaven and the elemental laws beneath them, fire, water, wood, and more. Elementalists also comprehended these same laws due to their connection to the immortal path. Espers, on the other hand, sought to comprehend the law of control, which was notoriously difficult to grasp. That was why there were so few Espers compared to martial artists and immortals. But his evolutionary path had no such bindings. It was a free path, one not restricted by any natural law or rule. That was why he believed the best approach was to let each person choose their own law. This also meant others could shift into his evolutionary path more easily, since they could still use the law they had already comprehended while changing their path. In short, it was the most optimal way to do it. Then Werner spoke again. Speaking of the ether evolutionary path, Master, do you remember me telling you about the meeting? The meeting. Gray nodded. He was referring to the quarterly meeting held in Ashspire City, where the top experts and ruling forces gathered to discuss and manage the city's affairs. Gray already knew about it. Valeria had told him long before Werner brought it up. What about it? Gray asked while tilting his head. The City Lord, Werner said. He's been acting strangely. In the meeting that took place yesterday, he talked about the secret realm. He said the ether evolutionary path should be banned because its authenticity isn't confirmed. He claimed it might be something developed by the High Order to deceive others. Oh, Gray's eyes lit up with interest. Interesting. Werner nodded and continued. He then said we should promote the cyborg evolutionary path instead and ban the use of the ether evolutionary path within Ashspire City. Of course, the majority were against it, but the Interwire Corporation gave it full support. Of course they would. Gray rolled his eyes. They were the ones who published and mass-produced cybernetics, so naturally, they would support anything that benefited them. At the same time, he felt suspicious. After his recent encounter with the Black Viper gang, which was under the influence of the Interwire Corporation, he had begun to believe something far more sinister was happening behind the scenes. There were too many mysteries surrounding the cyborg evolutionary path. It definitely couldn't be trusted. It's a good thing I have ears inside the inner circle, Gray thought to himself. His disciple allowed him to gather all kinds of information about Ashspire City, both internal and external. In a way, Werner was extremely useful, and Gray knew he would do anything his master asked. In fact, Gray could easily go to Nova City with his disciple and wipe out the Duskwood family in an instant. But he didn't want that. That revenge was his alone, and he would make sure he delivered it personally. The day for that wasn't far away. Tell me about the discussion regarding the secret realm, Gray said. Yes, Werner nodded, rubbing his beard as he spoke. The secret realm will open in a few days, and only first-rank evolvers are permitted to enter. Because of that, many companies started recruiting random evolvers to send inside. However, the City Lord and Azrael Corporation strongly opposed it. With most of the votes in their favor, they decided to limit entry to verified members within their own ranks. Each faction received a share of the quota, with the Interwire Corporation and the Ashspire family getting the largest portions. Our Formation Association received a total of 3 invitations. As he said that, he took out his phone and showed 3 unnamed permits. I saved one for you, Master, Werner said with an earnest smile. During the past 2 months, Gray had helped him make incredible progress in formation mastery. Werner would have been an unfilial disciple if he hadn't at least helped his master in return. Chapter 86, Creating Aerial Vehicle, Cosmic Energy Processor, 3. There is really no need for that, Gray said, shaking his head as he sent his copy of the permit to Werner. You should have asked me before getting the 3rd one. Did little girl Valeria give it to you? Werner asked in a curious tone. Indeed, Gray nodded. She might be annoying at times, but she has a good heart. Werner nodded at this. He had met her before, and even though she was very hard to deal with, she was a kind kid at heart. Who else did you give the last 2 permits to? Gray asked curiously. There were many powerful evolvers in the Formation Association who were at the peak of the 1st rank. It could be anyone. I naturally gave them to my disciples, Master. They're the most talented people in all of Ashspire City, Werner said with a proud expression. Although they won't be able to match you. If I'm not wrong, yesterday's disturbance was caused by you, right? You underwent Lord transformation. I was lucky, Gray said with a smile as he drank another cup of wine. The wine that this old man drank was extremely good, nothing like the one he got back in the Golden Chamber in Sector 1 of Nova City. And this wine was infinitely more expensive than that. Lord transformation at the age of 17 and with a life level at just the 6th level, Werner muttered, shaking his head. He was already aware of what sort of monster Gray was. He believed that if Gray claimed to be the 2nd best first ranker in all of Blue Star, no one would dare to call themselves first. That was the level he was at right now. Invincible in the same rank. Just then, 2 women wearing cheapaos entered the room. They both had the same appearance, long black hair, and the only difference between them was their eyes. One had green eyes, and the other had deep red eyes. They were also quite attractive. They were Mei-Ling and Mei-Ying. According to Old Man Werner, he had found them abandoned in the eastern region. He took them in, treating them as his own daughters, and once they were of age to become evolvers, 17, they took on his mantle, striving to become powerful formation masters. We greet the Grandmaster, they said at the same time as soon as they saw Gray, bowing in respect. They then turned to Werner and bowed again. We greet Master. Don't call me Grandmaster, Gray said, his face immediately turning sour. I'm still only 17. Hey, Ying, I think Grandmaster wants us to stop calling him Grandmaster, Mei-Ling said. Yes, Ling, I think Grandmaster wants us to stop calling him Grandmaster, Mei-Ying said with a serious nod. But he's the Grandmaster. How can we call him Master? Mei-Ling said. That's true, Ling. We should continue calling him Grandmaster, Mei-Ying said with another serious nod on her round face. Forget it, Gray muttered with a sour look on his face as he drank another cup of wine. You guys never listen. At the same time, he noticed something different about the two sisters. This ether evolutionary path. Gray was surprised. There was no mistake about it. These two had triggered his creator invocation, which could only mean one thing: they had changed their evolutionary path. They were infinitely more powerful than before. I managed to get my hands on a 1-star evolutionary conversion stone. They are easier to form than the 2-star or 3-star variants. As for 3 stars, there are said to be only 4 or 5 in existence, and they formed as a result of 4-star experts undergoing their 4th metamorphosis, Werner explained. Gray nodded. You both should stick close to me when we enter the secret realm. Yes, Mei-Ling and Mei-Ying exclaimed together. Please guide us, Grandmaster. Hey, what is up with older people calling me Master? Gray's expression darkened. The two twins were 18 years old, a year older than him, and then there was his own disciple, who was potentially, more than 100 years old. And he also called him Master. It simply made him feel old. He was still a budding youth enjoying his life. He hadn't even gone to college yet. Speaking of college, he remembered that he would most likely be able to enter a respected institution after the incident in Nova City. But even so, he didn't plan on enrolling. He had found a better way to gain a huge amount of resources, a secret Eterna had personally told him about. It was something only someone like him could achieve, and he planned to put it into motion once he became a second ranker. By that time, he wouldn't need to depend on anyone but himself. All right, with that sorted out, did you get the parts one told you to prepare? Gray asked as he poured himself another glass of wine. And where is this wine from? I need more of it. To answer your first question, Master, I've already prepared everything and placed it on the underground floor of the association. I bought everything as you commanded, Werner said with a smile on his old face. As for your second question, I'll send a dozen bottles to your mansion as soon as possible, Master. All right, Gray said as he stood up. Take me there. Werner nodded, and with the twin sisters in tow, they left the main office. As soon as they stepped outside, there were plenty of people in the hall, going about their activities. Some were there to take examinations, others were staff members guiding participants. Who is that guy? He looks our age. The formation master and his disciples are walking behind him. Is that guy just too arrogant or too stupid to do such a thing? Everyone who came for the examination was stunned. They could only watch in confusion and shock as Gray, along with his disciple and grand disciples, respectfully followed behind him. Some might never forget this sight. But one question still remained. Just who was this young man? They would perhaps never know. Chapter 87, Creating Aerial Vehicle, Cosmic Energy Processor, 4. Everyone entered the elevator, and swiftly, it descended to the deepest floor within the Formation Association. The place was huge, filled with many rooms. However, there was no one here. That was because only Werner and the people under him could access this area, as it contained all sorts of confidential records. The components are in the biggest room, Master, Werner said as he pointed toward a giant door. I believe it should be enough for you to create what you are planning to create. Mei-Ling asked curiously, her interest piqued. What are you creating, Grandmaster? Is it a new formation, Grandmaster? Mei-Ying chimed in excitedly. I would love to learn it from you. You'll see what I'm making when I'm done with it, Gray said with a mysterious smile. Spoiling things too early would ruin the fun. Opening the huge door, Gray entered the spacious room. In the corner were all sorts of components neatly packaged. Gray casually waved his hand, and immediately the large components revealed themselves. First of all, there was a huge chunk of refined cosmic ore that shone brightly as soon as the packaging was lifted. Right next to it were large components shaped like honeycombs which appeared to be anti-gravity thrusters, and several smaller items that looked like essential parts, including a chair and something similar to an engine. These are all what I managed to get from the Federation military, Master. They are all military-grade components. Werner said in a proud tone. "I'm sure they're up to your standards, Master Gray." "Indeed, they're exactly what I've been looking for," Gray said with a satisfied smile. "Thank you, Werner. This is the least I could do," Werner said while shaking his head. "All right, time to build my own AV," Gray said with a grin. For the past few months, aside from everything else he had been doing, he had also been studying technology. Technology was a crucial part of Blue Star, and by delving into it, he had gained a new skill through his overpowered comprehension. Instant assembly. That was the name of the skill. It allowed him to assemble technology rapidly and also helped him re-engineer complex machinery. It was extremely convenient. According to Eterna, this skill was something powerful Ash like her possessed. Speaking of her, Eterna appeared in his vision and spoke. "I'll connect the AV to the Blue Star database once you are done. You can directly link the map of the world into it after that." "All right," Gray nodded. "Thank you, Eterna." Eterna had been silently doing her best to help him. She had even helped him escape from the Tiger Claw gang members and safely traverse the outer rings across the southern region, which were filled with mutated beasts. "Let's begin," Gray said as he clapped his hands. Immediately, the components rose into the air. He turned slightly toward his disciple and grand disciples and said, "You guys might want to step back." They immediately complied and stepped back. In the next instant, the cosmic ore rose into the air and began melting at an alarming rate. Under Gray's control through the instant assembly skill, the glowing liquid metal twisted and stretched, forming a long, sleek frame. The front curved down sharply, and the sides expanded into smooth, layered panels. He then swiftly controlled the anti-gravity thrusters and sent them flying toward the formed structure of his AV. The honeycomb-like anti-gravity thrusters immediately attached themselves to the frame. With the anti-gravity modules connected, he created several pathways within the structure and made space for the engine. He placed it inside and connected it to the anti-gravity thrusters. The engine was the key component that held the AV together, and with it successfully installed, things became easier. With the anti-gravity thrusters done, it was time to work on the interior. He took the chair and placed it in the center. Immediately after, he installed the holographic units that would display information and connected them to the engine. Then, he filled the rest of the interior with a sofa large enough for 5 people to sit comfortably. Once that was complete, he installed the weaponry modules. There was an array of weapons that could be integrated with the AV, including missiles, guns, and more. They would function according to the amount of energy they received. For example, if supplied with energy equivalent to a first ranker's energy pool, they would unleash attacks just as powerful. He swiftly installed them all, and after adding headlights, control panel and windows to the front of the AV, it was finally complete. His AV had been created. Creating an AV was easy if you had the right components and the right skill. The instant assembly skill allowed him to swiftly connect wires and tighten bolts all at once, completing a process that would have taken at least 5 hours or more for others. Melting cosmic ore alone usually took an hour, but with his skill, it came naturally. However, things weren't done yet. There was still one important step left: activating the engine. To activate an engine, one needed a processor that could distribute and regulate power to all components. Now, AVs in particular consumed a massive amount of energy. They were known to be huge energy feeders, but they were also extremely fast. If someone escaped using an AV, not even a late-stage evolver could catch up, provided it was supplied with enough cosmic ore. That's right, cosmic ores. AVs needed cosmic ores to function, and they were extremely difficult to buy in bulk due to their high cost. Each one came with a steep price. However, today, Gray was going to do something different. He had set aside some cosmic ores. He immediately refined them into a core, then drilled his mental perception into it. Instantly, a circuit began forming within the base of the core, a circuit with an intricate pattern, extremely similar to a formation. The patterns connected seamlessly in a 360-degree arc around the core. And finally, it was complete, the cosmic energy processor. Gray waved his hand, and the processor flew into the engine. Immediately, the air around them shifted, and a dense wave of cosmic energy rushed into the engine from all directions. "It's working," Gray said, his eyes brightening. The cosmic energy processor was an upgraded version of the standard core that used cosmic ore. He had studied the old design and created this new one, an innovation that fused both formation and technology together. He had combined the core with a cosmic energy conversion diagram and a powerful energy gathering array, drawing the circuit in a way that allowed it to absorb cosmic energy from the atmosphere with incredible efficiency. The speed of absorption was so fast that if an evolver tried to do the same, they would die from energy overflow. But for an AV, it was the perfect core. With this, he could travel indefinitely and as fast as the components he had brought would allow him to. Chapter 88, Creating Aerial Vehicle, Cosmic Energy Processor, 5. Ying, it's an AV, Mei Ling said as she stared at the newly forged AV. That's right, Ling, it looks like an AV, Mei Ying said in awe as she examined the AV Gray made up close. How did Grandmaster build an AV like this in less than 5 minutes? Mei Ling asked with a dumbfounded look on her face. AVs are extremely hard to build. You shouldn't compare your Grandmaster to ordinary people, Werner said with a speechless look. He's not ordinary. What we know about him is only a drop from an ocean. The twin sisters nodded. Inside the AV, Gray stood near the holographic module and spoke to Eterna in his mind. Connect the AV to the Blue Star Network, Eterna. Yes, Eterna's soft yet emotionless voice rang in his head. Immediately, a signal formed between the AV and the Blue Star Network, pushing the holographic modules to activate. System check. Checking for errors. Anti-gravity thrusters, checked. Functioning. Engine, checked. Functioning. Engine processor, checked. Functioning at full capacity. Weaponry, checked. All functional. Weaponry power is increasing due to the large amount of energy being poured in. Geomatrix has been uploaded and activated. Autopilot plugin has been installed from the internet. Autopilot, checked. Functioning. Check complete. AV is ready to take off. Pleased to meet you, Lord Gray. It's working, Gray said with a bright smile. He then got off the AV and called out to his disciple and grand disciples. Hop in, let's take this on a quick test run. Yes. Both Mei Ling and Mei Ying cheered and rushed straight into the AV. Werner followed behind and settled on the sofa alongside the two sisters. Gray also released Mimi, who had been dematerialized while he was creating AV. The moment it materialized, it darted straight into the arms of the two sisters. Mimi, Grandmaster's cat is so cute, Mei Ying exclaimed, her eyes sparkling as she cuddled the little cat. Gray, on the other hand, went to the driver's seat, sat down, and placed his hands on the steering wheel. He toggled several buttons, and immediately, the honeycomb-like anti-gravity thrusters of the AV activated. Waves of golden energy shot out from the thrusters, propelling the AV upward. Master, this space is connected to the top floor of the building, Werner said as he pointed to a closed entrance above the room, which slowly opened. If you go that way, we can get out of here directly. All right, Gray nodded, then placed his foot on the pedal. Whoosh, like a jet taking off, the AV shot upward through the entrance and climbed rapidly through the Formation Association building. Within 5 seconds, it had shuttled through all the floors and blasted out into the sky. Boom. As soon as they exited the building, Gray pushed more power into the thrusters. Instantly, the AV tore through the air, twisting the clouds around the Formation Association's building as it ascended. Yay! The twin sisters cheered as they looked out the window. They had been in AVs many times before, but none had ever moved this fast. Dear passengers, welcome to the clouds, Gray exclaimed with a laugh as the AV soared forward. In no time, they had already crossed Sector 6 of Ashspire City and entered the Outer Ring. The area outside the cities was collectively known as the Outer Ring, regardless of which part of the world it was, unless it was a floating city. 3 Guards Province, Silverguard City. An AV shot through the city barrier of Silverguard City and landed in the inner district of Sector 1. Below the AV stood several people, some holding cameras, others looking like evolvers, and a few ordinary citizens. As soon as the AV landed, one of them rolled out a red carpet while the AV's doors slowly opened. Immediately, the people with cameras began clicking photos at inhuman speeds as the doors opened. From the AV, 5 people emerged. The first was an old man with the calm aura of an expert and a faint smile on his face. If Gray had been here, he would have recognized him instantly. It was none other than Manager Desmond, the branch manager of Nova City's Evolvers Association. Following closely behind him were 4 young people, 2 men and 2 women. The man walking up front had a casual expression, short black hair, deep yellow eyes, and a handsome face. It was none other than Evan. Following behind him were 2 beautiful women who were breathtakingly gorgeous. They were Lia and Alyssa. They glanced at each other briefly, then awkwardly turned away. During the Tri-City tournament, they had spoken a few times, and Lia had introduced herself to Alyssa as Gray's friend, much to Alyssa's surprise. They had talked about Gray afterward, with Lia asking about his past and Alyssa answering truthfully. However, upon hearing Gray's past from Alyssa's mouth, Lia had grown angry, thinking Alyssa was making things up. Since then, they hadn't spoken to each other. At the same time, another figure walked behind them. He had short white hair, deep red eyes, and an exceptionally handsome face. This was the newest member of the tournament, Lin Fang. He was someone from Nova City discovered by Manager Desmond himself. Lin Fang was incredibly talented, strong enough to rival Lia, Alyssa, and Evan. All of them were now at the 11th level of the first rank, much stronger than before. They had all grown by leaps and bounds in just 2 months. Miss Lia, Miss Alyssa, now that we're in Silverguard City, shouldn't we explore a bit? Lin Fang asked with a calm smile. We don't have time for that, Lia replied flatly as she walked forward. The tournament begins in 5 days. We cannot afford to slack off. More and more young geniuses are coming from all parts of the southern region to Silverguard City. We should focus on training so we can win. Oh, come on, that would be boring, Lin Fang said with a lazy tone. We should enjoy ourselves a little, right? Lia ignored him completely, not even bothering to respond. This guy, Lin Fang, was extremely annoying. He was always trying to talk to them and get on the good side. Both Lia and Alyssa could see through him easily. Alyssa outright ignored him, while Lia only responded when she had no choice. Hey, Lia and Alyssa, you both will be mine soon, Lin Fang thought, a calm smile forming on his face. As the protagonist of this world and the honored one, you are both destined to be my women as I conquer Blue Star. He was someone who had crossed over to this world more than a month ago. And with him came his golden finger, the invincible villain system. When he first woke up, he quickly realized his identity in this new world. He wasn't some heaven-defying genius or fated son of destiny. No, he was just an extra, an insignificant side character in the grand order of things. But with the invincible villain system, everything changed. Step by step, he began to rise. The system rewarded him with power every time he committed villainous deeds, and in order to survive, he was willing to do anything. Even if it meant eliminating the protagonist himself. The protagonist of this world was Evan, and he knew it without a shred of doubt. Alyssa and Lia were the heroines tied to him. His ultimate goal was clear: steal the heroines, overthrow the so-called protagonist, and become the true protagonist of this world. Everything will be mine. Chapter 89, Hideout, Kill Yourself, 1. Whoosh! An AV flew quietly among the sea of clouds. The AV had a unique design, something one would never see in a normal showroom for AVs. Not even military AVs had this design. Inside the AV sat Gray, a serious look on his face as he navigated through the sea of clouds. On the side sat the twin sisters and Werner. They all gazed silently at the sea of clouds. The windows were open. It was safe to do so at the AV's slow speed. "Ying, that cloud looks like a huge sausage," Mei Ling exclaimed in wonder as she pointed at a cloud not far from them. "Ling, that's not a sausage, that's AD. Cough." Just as Mei Ying was about to say something, Werner coughed slightly, and she shut her mouth. "All right everyone, we've had enough of the air. It's time to go back," Gray's voice came from the captain's seat. However, just then, Eterna abruptly appeared in his head. "Gray," she softly called out. "What is it, Eterna?" Gray asked in his mind with a curious look on his face. She wasn't the type to just randomly appear in his head, though she did sometimes. The chances of that happening were extremely low. "I feel a signal blockage down below. It appears to be an abandoned old building from the old era," Eterna slowly voiced out. A signal blockage and a building from the old era. The old era she was referring to were the days before evolutionary paths were discovered on Blue Star, before the energy storm erupted from the planet's crust. There were still remnants of the old civilization before the great evolutionary era. According to what Gray managed to find, the people of the old era were just like those from Earth. There were no evolvers or superhumans, just plain old humans. But that wasn't what was important, it was the signal blockage. A signal blockage in the outer ring is definitely suspicious, especially in an abandoned building from the old era several thousand years ago. "There shouldn't be anyone there," Gray said with a frown. "The High Order," Gray's eyes flashed. Eterna's signal being deliberately blocked only meant one thing: it was without a doubt the High Order. Eterna was able to identify it just in time, and it was all thanks to Gray himself. She could utilize Gray's cognitive anchor to scan the nearby areas. That was also how they were finding High Order members. After all, Gray wasn't exempt from the signal blockage, it only targeted Eterna. "Looks like we'll be taking a detour," Gray mumbled. Eterna nodded and disappeared. "I've sent you the location. I'll keep you updated if anything goes wrong." Gray then turned to his disciple and grand disciples and spoke. "We'll be taking a detour. We're going to land now." "What happened, Master Gray?" Werner became serious. "Did something happen? Are we under attack?" "No." Gray shook his head. "We'll only be able to find out once we land." As he said that, he maneuvered the AV skillfully like an experienced pilot and descended toward the ground. He carefully went through the dense forest and eventually arrived at the location sent to him by Eterna. There was a huge cavern around the area, and deep inside it was a massive building covered in plants and flowers, looking completely worn out and one hit away from crumbling. PSSH. The door to the AV opened, and Werner, the twin sisters, and Gray got off. "Is that a building from the old era, Grandmaster?" Mei Ling asked with a stunned look on her face. A building from the old era. They were extremely rare to find, yet they had actually encountered one right outside Ashspire City. "That seems to be the case," Werner said as he shaped his long beard with his hands. "That old material the building is made from is called titania ore. It was once the building block of the previous era, and things made from it can last hundreds or even thousands of years. Even without cosmic energy, the people of the old era were extremely smart with their technology and creations. The technology we currently have is also from the old era," Werner added. "There could be all sorts of valuable technology hidden deep within the building if we explore it." "Indeed," Gray nodded. "However, we aren't here for a treasure hunt." Gray's eyes flashed for a moment, and there he felt it. Several connections and signals, something that could only emerge from phones and cybernetics. Most importantly, there were more than 100 connections here. ... System update. Warning. Warning. Intruder alert. Intruder alert. Below the abandoned building was a laboratory that looked eerily similar to the one beneath the Black Viper cruise base. There were many hooded figures in black moving around the place. However, all of them froze the moment the intruder alarm rang. The laboratory was abruptly filled with the blaring sound of alarms from the overseeing system, accompanied by a red light that blinked rapidly as if signaling danger. Who is it? Who found the hideout? How is this possible? Nobody has ever managed to find out about this place since it was created. Could they have accidentally found this place? Do we need to take action? Why wouldn't we take action? Since they dare to enter our place, we will eliminate them thoroughly. The matters of this place cannot get out no matter what happens. We need to eliminate them now that they've found us, or else it'll cause trouble for all of us. Enough. Just then, 5 people walked in, all of them wore grey robes. Clearly, all of them were second-rank evolvers of the high order, but the guy walking in the middle had an even more powerful aura. Everyone, come to the main hall immediately. This is urgent. We are dealing with a middle-stage second-ranker, 2 late-stage first-rankers, and 1 middle-stage first-ranker. Yes, every member of the high order, even the lab personnel, stopped what they were doing and immediately rushed to the main hall for a meeting. Chapter 90, Hideout, Kill Yourself, 2. Everyone, we are dealing with a middle-stage second rank who's 1 step away from reaching the late stage of second rank, someone who is in the process of undergoing law reshaping. We need to show utmost alert against him. But they don't look like they're aware of our hideout. Do we really need to take action? That's right. That being is a pseudo-late-stage second ranker. Our ranks will definitely take a huge toll if we fight him head-on. Someone who has already begun the process of undergoing law reshaping is extremely dangerous. We cannot take risks. Enough, the grey-robed High Order member exclaimed, and immediately the hall went silent. The activity we are conducting here cannot get out, no matter what. It'll take a huge toll on Ashspire City. If people find out what we are doing here, things will go bad. We cannot afford to take any chances. As he said that, his spatial ring flickered to life, and an array flag abruptly appeared in his hands. Everyone, this is a 2-star killing array. This was given to us by Lord Varron. Lord Varron. Everyone's face changed. Lord Varron was the one behind all these experiments. He was the one guiding them all. Naturally, every High Order member knew about him. He was their sole leader. Is Lord Varron aware of this? Immediately, all the black-robed members went into a panic, but the grey-robed second-rank evolvers remained calm. He isn't aware of this yet, the main grey-robed man spoke. And you all know what the consequences will be if he finds out. A chill ran down everyone's spine when they thought about it. Eliminate them. Since they decided to come here, they can no longer leave. Kill them. The High Order members immediately rose up in favor of eliminating the visitors, whether they found this place accidentally or not. And with the 2-star killing array, they believed they would be able to win. After all, a killing array was something people used to eliminate a huge number of enemies or to swiftly take down a stronger opponent in one swoop. It took a lot of time to fully develop one, but once placed and deployed, it was extremely hard to deal with. Equipped with sealing power and a dense amount of violent lethal energy, they were confident it would ensure their victory. After all, the others aside from the old man weren't even worth mentioning. They would be easily crushed. Good. The killing array requires 5 people to activate. Everyone, go into formation and rush out. We will catch them off guard and attack the middle stage expert quickly. The main grey-robed man commanded, then turned to the other grey-robed members, who nodded at him. However, just then, a sharp booming voice rang out within the hidden hideout. Hey, you guys, I know you're all hiding beneath the building. Come on out, or I'll nuke this entire place. Mimi, Mimi, Mimi. Everyone turned to the screen displaying the visitor outside. The one who just spoke was none other than Gray and his cat, who wore a serious expression as it repeatedly mumbled, Mimi. Master, Werner called out to Gray in confusion. Is anyone here? From his senses, he couldn't detect any presence of life within his range of perception. However, just then, his expression shifted abruptly, and a grim look formed on his face. Corruption energies, he slowly mumbled as the ground began shaking from the tremor. The old abandoned building suddenly cracked open, and from it, several hundreds of black-robed and gray-robed people came out one by one, with the gray-robed ones flying in the air. The High Order, the twin sisters exclaimed at the same time in disbelief. They had actually encountered the High Order members, and there were over hundreds of them altogether. How was this possible? Master, watch out, Werner called out in alert. Gray was the one standing in the front, and he looked completely defenseless. However, to this, Gray just stretched his hand up, signaling Werner not to do anything. Insolent trespassers, who granted you the right to set foot on the High Order's domain? Your audacity will cost you dearly. The main gray-robed High Order member's voice boomed. He then threw his hand forward while taking a horse stance in the air. Immediately, the air distorted around him, and a giant golden hand formed and rushed toward Gray and the others. Werner, seeing this, shook his head and snorted. Boom! A terrifying power exploded out of him, and immediately, the golden hand rushing toward them was neutralized. However, this attack clearly wasn't intended to land on them. Rather, it was a diversionary strike. Set the formation, the main gray-robed man barked. In a blur, several figures in gray surged down from the sky, each moving to a corner around Gray and the others. With a push from their hands, they drove the formation flags into the ground. BZZ, the air around them trembled and the flags shuddered. A strange energy filled with killing intent and the power of sealing rushed out from the flags and immediately formed a dome around where Gray, Werner, and the twin sisters stood. A formation, Werner asked in a surprised tone. Master, this is a 2-star killing array. Werner identified the formation and immediately notified Gray. With a hint of caution, he spoke again. Please stay behind me, Master. These people are extremely powerful. There isn't a single middle stage first ranker in sight. All of them are at the late stage of first rank or halfway into second rank, and the gray-robed members are full second rank evolvers. Yes, Grandmaster, leave this to us. Mei Ling spoke with a determined look on her face. With me achieving 12th level in the Ether evolutionary path, I'm as strong as a level 1 or level 2 second rank evolver. There's no need to be afraid. Me and Ying will protect you. That's right, Mei Ying chimed in. We will protect you, you trespassers. The main gray-robed High Order member's voice boomed again. You can die now. Everyone, charge. Eliminate that old man and kill those women. He didn't even mention Gray, as he was far too weak to warrant any attention. It didn't matter whether he found out they were hiding underground or not. He was still a weakling and was most likely the disciple of the old man. Boom! Intense abyssal energy surged from all the High Order members, and everyone turned to Werner with